Good morning. Good morning. So in a moment, we'll be hearing poster pitches from the following students: Abby, Audrey, Matt, Katie, Gabriella, Deep, Leanna, and Jackson. After the last poster pitch, we would like to invite you to the lobby area of the 5th floor and 6th floor to view presenters' posters and ask them any questions that you may have. So without further ado, Abby, you may start.
First one, I'm a little nervous. Hi, my name's Abby Gross, and I study neuroscience and visual arts here at BU. For my Keystone project, I created a website where I publicly displayed the findings from Dr. Mona Lisa Chanda's 2013 research review article, The Neurochemistry of Music. And so as a neuroscience student, I've been engaging with a lot of scientific literature the past 2 years, both in the lab that I work in and in my neuroscience classes. And one thing I've realized is the inaccessibility of these neuroscience, of this literature, because of the jargon used, the rigid structure, and also just the paywalls that prevent a lot of people from seeing this really interesting research going on. And so with my website, the goal of my website was twofold. One, to share this research that I find so interesting and so worth knowing about, and two, to do so in an interactive and creative way. And so with my website, I restructured this research by breaking it down into digestible paragraphs, creating hand-drawn graphics and illustrations, providing a key terms vocabulary list, and including music examples and curations and playlists. And so if you're interested in learning more about my website, feel free to come check out my poster outside. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Audrey Hager and I'm an economics student in the College of Arts and Sciences. I worked with my advisor, Professor Reynolds, in the Questrom School of Business to complete my project this year, an estimation of out-of-pocket cost of oral breast cancer medications in 2018. So estimating the out-of-pocket cost of cancer treatment is quite difficult because each patient has an individualized health plan and varying levels of health insurance. I chose to study breast cancer because of its prevalence in the population. 1 out of 8 women will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer in their lifetimes in the United States. So in order to find an actual estimate of what these patients are paying, I used a database of around 47 million insurance claims specifically for people with employer-sponsored insurance, so not Medicare or Medicaid. I narrowed this down to 25,000 women who had a claim for an oral breast cancer medication, as well as a diagnosis of breast cancer in their inpatient or outpatient claims. The results of the study weren't exactly what I expected. The cost burden of expensive cancer drugs for these patients is mostly covered by insurance. Compared to total costs, these women are actually only paying around 9% of their total cost for pharmaceutical drugs. A very large portion is from their outpatient costs, and then a small portion is inpatient costs like surgeries. My recommendations based on these findings are twofold. From a demand perspective, health insurance for these patients needs to take into account the high and undue burden of these costs and work towards creating lower costs for the breast cancer patients. From a supply perspective, hospitals and clinics need to address their part of these costs for breast cancer patients as well. Overall, my research is adding to the growing body of research that reveals the burdens of cancer costs, and I hope that it is able to inform important policy going forward so that no patient has to make medical decisions based on their financial burdens. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Matt Kim. I'm studying physics and philosophy within the College of Arts and Sciences. And before I begin, I just want to extend a huge thank you to my advisor, Professor Brandy Behrens. She's not here right now, but I think she'll be here a little bit later. Guys. So anyways, my project is titled Here and There, a collection of works about growing up. And it's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a collection of my own creative writing pieces that I've been working on since freshman year. And it's really centered around themes of growing up, like interpersonal bonds, reflection, and kind of finding and discovering who you are as a person. And I think that's a really important thing that we've all come through these last 4 years, and I think it's something that is really important for me to share with you guys, and I'm really excited to. So my work is going to come through a series of works, like I said, that range from different media, like poetry to autofiction to short story. And although my advisor, who's read my short story a million times, might not call it so short, I'm really excited to present this to everybody. So when I began the Keystone process, as a physics major, I kind of felt boxed in as what I could present to you guys. I kind of expected everyone to kind of point at me and say, hey, where's your research paper? But I kind of wanted to go out of that. And everyone's journey isn't so linear. And today I really feel like I can express that sentiment to you guys. So what I do have for everyone here today is my poster outside. If you guys want to come bother me about it, I would love that. And I can explain a little more with the time that I have. I don't think I can go too deeply into it, but I just want to say that my poster does revolve around my short story titled The Duckling, and I think that really encapsulates my growth as a writer and kind of who I am as a person here today. So thank you, everybody.
Hello, I'm Katie Lee. I'm studying statistics at the College of Arts and Sciences, and my project is about categorizing Wikipedia, so analyzing the network of Wikipedia articles. To start with, I'm sure everybody is familiar with Wikipedia, hopefully, you can start to think of Wikipedia as a huge network based on articles where each one is sort of a node connected to other articles by internal linkages. So, when you click from one page to another, that can be kind of like an edge. And so my project is based around looking at the structure of that network as a whole. It's really massive, so looking at different sampling methods to look at then subgraphs and the categories that they fall in. So another feature of Wikipedia is that each page is in one or more categories. These are all manually defined. And so I compared that to some computationally defined clusters. This can all be seen in the accumulation of my project, which is an app that you can use to compare a few selected categories in this way. And some of that, you can draw your own conclusions about the validity of the manual categorizations in Wikipedia. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Gabriella Longo. I'm a student in the College of Arts and Sciences studying anthropology with a specialization in sociocultural anthropology, and my advisor for this project was Professor Sean Desilets. My project is a short article for intended submission to the Transformative Works and Culture Journal, analyzing the way that fans of celebrities, specifically fans of the Korean boy band BTS, also known as the BTS Army, participate in a kind of collaborative authorship of the canon for their fandom. So in the context of fandom, canon refers to the source or sources considered authoritative by the fanish community. In fandoms of more traditional forms of media, that is, fans of novels, comics, TV shows, or movies, the canon comes from a clear source narrative provided to fans by one coherent authorial body, be that an individual writer or team of writers, and it's usually bound by the limited form of said media. So when fans participate in normal fan behavior, like creating fan art or writing fan fiction, their works are considered derivatives of this canon. But when a fandom has no such text to turn to, as is the case for celebrity fandom, where do they get their authoritative canon? When there is no obviously identified creator who writes the story, I initially expected the role of the author to be easily parallel to the artist, in this case BTS, who provide content for fans through sharing their lives on social media. And I expected the peculiarity of such fandom to lie in the constant daily update of the canon, given the living aspect of such a creator. But what I found in my analysis was actually a total reconfiguration of the traditional role of the author, which was instead supplanted by a collaborative system where fans and artists play reciprocal roles in the contribution to the history and canon of their fandoms. So in my article titled 남주님 보라해 BTS, Army and the Collaborative Authoring of Celebrity, I explore several examples of this kind of collaborative authorship, identifying several sources of information, which fans often turn to in reference to the slightly more nebulous celebrity canon. I hope you'll have a chance to stop by my poster to learn more and maybe even read the article.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to see all of you here this morning on this early Saturday. My name is Dee Patel, and I'm a student in the College of Arts and Sciences, majoring in economics and political science. My project is titled Envisioning American Healthcare Reform in the Age of COVID-19, a step towards countering racial health disparities. And I was advised by Professor Alia Gusteva in the sociology department. So I can probably say with great confidence that for all of us here sitting in this room today, no factor has impacted all of our lives as much as COVID-19 over the past 2 years. Its impact has been even more disproportionately adverse for racial minority groups in the country, and in particular, it has notoriously complicated the way that they can access adequate health care. Given that I was back in Queens, New York City, which had become the epicenter of cases back in 2020 during the height of the pandemic, I was able to firsthand witness how racial health disparities in COVID-19 infections and care impacted the health outcomes of both people inside and outside my immediate social circle. It was at this moment that my interest for this topic grew, and eventually it developed itself into this Keystone project today. So within this project, I relied upon an intensive literature review and overview of scientific articles, medical journals, state and federal COVID databases, and much more from leading national medical libraries. Essentially, within this project, I found that the main sources of American racial health disparities during COVID-19 are the failures to provide adequate healthcare coverage to minority groups, equitable healthcare financing, both in regards to patients looking for care and also hospitals in underserved communities attempting to provide it, and also high-quality healthcare. I also found that although the domestic healthcare reforms of the public option and Medicare for All both make great strides in closing the racial healthcare gap, they both face their own respective difficulties in cost and implementation. Finally, I also was able to explore how the robust healthcare systems of Iceland and Germany were able to fare so well during brief parts of the pandemic, and how this makes them sources of reform for the American system. I have a lot of recommendations from myself about how to reform the system here in the States, so I can tell you more about them once you stop by my poster later today, and I look forward to doing that. And I'm a strong believer in the idea that the best time to improve a country's healthcare system is always now, so that it can be proactive rather than reactive. And given the times that we're living in, the findings of this project will be of great utility. Thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting with all of you.
Hi everyone, my name is Leanna and my project is titled The Role of Cocaine-Associated Memories in Driving Relapse and Drug-Seeking Behaviors, a project I completed in Dr. Steve Ramirez's lab. One of the largest difficulties in treating addiction is the propensity for relapse. In animal studies, there have been 3 main factors identified that can induce relapse, those being a priming injection of the drug itself, stress, and cues related to the drug or drug-seeking behavior. Less is understood about the role that memories play in the promotion of relapse. The physical manifestation of a memory, or an engram, is the collection of cells active during a transient experience. Using an inducible and activity-dependent viral tagging strategy, we were able to identify cells involved in a cocaine engram and allow them to later be reactivated in response to light. Animals were trained through cocaine-conditioned place preference, a behavioral paradigm that models addiction. After extinguishing that behavior, either the memory, the drug, or both in tandem, were used to attempt to induce reinstatement of drug-seeking behavior. What we found was that actually the reactivated memory in the dentate gyrus alone was not sufficient to induce relapse in mice. The locomotive effects also exhibited this disparity, as we did not see the increase in locomotor activity from optogenetic stimulation that we did with the drug. However, by adding more animals to future cohorts, we hope to investigate a potential trend in the protective effects of reactivation of the cocaine memory. If in fact reactivating the memory prior to reinstatement promotes extinction instead, this could have significant therapeutic implications. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jackson Wallace, majoring in physics and mathematics in the College of Arts and Sciences. For my Keystone, I worked with Professor Indara Suarez, who is an experimental particle physicist, and I'm really excited to share more about my research with you after this short talk. At the Compact Muon Solenoid, or CMS, which is a detector located in the Large Hadron Collider, a particle accelerator around Geneva, Switzerland,
physicists look for evidence of new physics beyond the standard model, which is the current explanation for everything that we know about. And one reason that we have to look for new physics, that we know the standard model is inadequate, is the existence of dark matter, which is matter that we cannot see, but we know is out there because it has gravity. One theory for the existence of dark matter proposes that you have two additional particles beyond the ones that we know about, which are conventionally labeled capital A and lowercase a. In this theory, capital A decays to a Higgs boson, which you may know about. If you don't, I'm happy to tell you more about it, and lowercase a, which then decays to the dark matter. And so you can look for evidence of this by examining data collected by CMS that has Higgs bosons and seeing if that is slightly different from what you would actually get when you do the calculations under the current model. And upgrades that are ongoing to CMS and the LHC will improve the extent of these searches. So what I've done for my research is I've simulated these future detectors and colliders and then used a variety of software tools to try and predict whether these future detectors can either rule out this theory entirely or find evidence of dark matter. Thank you.
So that concludes all the poster pitches from this room. Please join us outside for these presenters' posters. There are also 8 more posters upstairs on the 6th floor as well. Thank you. And we will resume at 10:15 for oral presentations.